Okay, so over the last week, I've seen a narrative spun by, let's be real, hypocritical white people that black people only want equality to overthrow white people. Can't lie, y'all are good. So, this all started with NFL star Deshaun Jackson quoting a very well accomplished author of the third touchdown, I mean Third Reich. I'm talking about Hitler. And then former NBA player Steven Jackson defending his stance on people calling for Deshaun to be kicked off the Philadelphia Eagles. I took philosophy in high school. I know, waste of time. But no, seriously, I genuinely liked the course. And one of the things I learned was an arthood was about arthood. And an art piece losing its arthood. It sounds like paint virginity, but for real, when we see a painting or a picture or listen to some music or watch a comedy show, we're observing art. Art is made by an artist, and when we critique art, we more or less are just critiquing what we see or hear, and the criticisms for the artist are just exclusive to just what he did with the painting or what he did with the song or what he did in the video or comedy show, whatever. Now think of what I just said and max out all the attributes on losing your arthood when you're talking about Hitler. Hitler, for how it was taught to me when I was in school, was that he was the personification of everything that is evil about a person or an idea. He used anti-Semitism as a blanket term to blame Jewish people for the downfall of German economics after World War One. He instilled the fear that Jewish people were looking for world domination for a reason to dehumanize them and give justification to kill them. Even if there are certain aspects you can agree with when we're talking about Hitler, which is what Deshaun was doing when he was saying that, when he highlighted the term that black people were the true Jewish people or like the true children of Israel. Side note, you can even argue that there were black Jewish people before there were white Jewish people because, and I'm not even capping, I had to look this up while making the video because I didn't know what a Semite or Semitism really was. The languages of the Semitic people, like Arabic, Armenic, Hebrew, etc., were probably spoken in some countries in Africa, while Jewish people in Northern Europe didn't speak that shit. Like, they spoke German, they spoke Polish, etc. But to say black people were the true children of Israel, the true Israelites, can't be scientifically proven, since that honestly might be Arabic people. But regardless of that, even if that is true, it's coming from Hitler. Any points that he says can't be taken critically because of what he represents. With Steven Jackson, this sentiment is most likely he just did not fucking know. He even said that he didn't know how the rhetoric could be dangerous. You know, he even said this in a video, and he said this in a live stream. Even when he was on Instagram Live with, like, I think a fan or somebody. This leads to Nick Cannon. You can't be fucking serious. This leads to Nick Cannon, the man responsible for Wild 'N Out and responsible for a wildly garbage diss track to Eminem. He was on his podcast where he said that white people were the true savages and the true animals. I assume he was talking about Eminem after the diss track. And to be honest, with his comments, if he framed it as, for years, white people have been using their platforms, have been calling black people savages and animals, but have also colonized many countries for their own and have made laws and systems to keep black people down, and that is the true savage behavior, I don't think Nick Cannon would personally get any real backlash. But where he does his best Deshaun Jackson impression at the goal line is that he tries to justify it with reasoning with just shit you can't prove and using the lack of melanin in the skin of white people for the reason of their behavior, which doesn't help because it insinuates that white people can't help it, and now we're arguing about a whole bunch of random shit. And how his comments get into the anti-Semitic territory is when he lumps Jewish people into what he was talking about with white people. And similar stuff to what Deshaun was saying. Also, this doesn't help that he was also with Professor Grift. a man who has been, called out for anti-Jewish rhetoric in the past. Now, after saying all this, do I think Nick Cannon or Deshaun Jackson hate Jewish people? No. Do I think that they are Holocaust deniers? No. But what I saw was people not understanding how deep anti-Semitism runs in the Jewish community and why they are so sensitive to that rhetoric. The time it took me to research this video, I didn't even know a phrase, like a saying of a phrase like Jews own all the banks was anti-Semitic. I didn't even know that Jewish people from the time that they're young are told that the Holocaust could potentially happen again. And how I was taught was that the Holocaust could never happen again. So they hear phrases that, and to us, it might just be just regular talk, but to Jewish people, it's triggering. It's kind of like when black people talk about, when they hear phrases like all lives matter or what about black on black crime. To people on the outside, it sounds like normal phrases and talking points. But to us, to black people, that phrase is only brought out and is only used when black people are talking about the struggles that they've dealt with racism and microaggressions. We need to be empathetic about the oppressions of other minority groups as we wish they were to us. Many Jewish people have worked incredibly hard on building the wealth that they have. Also, many Jewish people were allies alongside black people and black activists during the civil rights movement. It goes as far as Rabbi Joachim Prinz, who was very vocal about the oppression and the treatment of black Americans upon arriving to the U.S., and had his silent speech, which was right before MLK's I Have a Dream speech. So think of Rabbi Prinz as the Eminem to MLK's Dr. Dre. However, the actions of Nick Cannon and Deshaun Jackson have tokenized Terry Crews. What would happen if the Hulk had the integrity of the fucking Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz? From like a week or two ago when Terry Crews made a tweet saying that, beating white supremacy without white people creates black supremacy. And let me explain this. For starters, Uncle Ruckus with a gym membership, he fails to realize that for the most part, all the protests and the riots and the protests that are happening worldwide have massive turnouts of people of all skin colors and religions. And I don't see black people saying, yo, fuck that, they can gossa. I'm reading an article called 100 Ways White People Can Make Life Easier for Black People. And this goes to white people right now. Stop thinking all black people think the same. The point of the turnout and the protesting is to get people who aren't black to see this and talk about it and be loud about it and use whatever privilege they have to help and work alongside black people as they fight for equality. Because racism affects people differently depending on who has majority power. I can understand there's a thing of you can believing that you are better than somebody because of the color of your skin and also have no power. And I honestly think this is where Terry Crews is talking about, because I assume Terry Crews is talking about strictly America. The problem there is that white people have maintained majority power while doing the absolute most to make sure black people can't get ahead, and also have these racist ideals, and now they have the power to make laws that disproportionately affect marginalized groups. One of the things I've seen through social media is that people really think that just because white people can experience racism as well, it's on the same line as black people experiencing racism. You see, when black people talk about racism, they're talking about being potentially killed, lynched, chased around by people just watching them, getting the cops called on them just for being there and being in a certain place and being black, worried about not getting a business loan because of the color of their skin, not getting the job because of the color of their skin or their name or their job, not getting into a school because of their skin color, having the fear of any minor infraction that will get them fired, worried about getting stopped by the police and all of a sudden unlocking 5 stars. When white people talk about racism, they more or less are just talking about shit that they don't want to hear or words that they can't say. And yes, nobody should deal with it. But the reason all 50 states are protesting right now is that they see this and are outraged and tired of hearing and seeing the same bullshit. Like in America, I've known this for a while because I have some family members that live in the U.S. You know, they say the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. And what does the Pledge of Allegiance end with? Liberty and justice for all. Clearly, that's not the fucking case right now. That's why motherfuckers are rioting, why motherfuckers are protesting. Well, protesting now. They can see that racism affects black people at higher levels than any other group of people. Black people aren't fucking stupid. They're not using this movement to alienate white people. Black people are fighting for equality, not revenge. And when black people ever get to rebuild their financial ecosystem and get a good amount of power, they will not kick out white people that helped them get there. You know, it's weird. White people can't say that they want to learn and be allies and then get mad at black people for telling them how they should do it and how problematic that some of these terms or the history of white people and the treatment towards black people can potentially be. I think a point that needs to be made about black people and the relationship with Jewish people is that it's a scarred relationship. Similar ways to, I don't know if this is, you know, true in every place, but where I'm from, you know, there's a kind of a weird relationship between black people and Indian people. And, you know, that's from what I've experienced. For many black people, the only relationship that they have with Jewish people in any capacity are landlords. And many of the discriminations in the housing community, in the housing sector, are from landlords not renting to black people or treating black people poorly. Shit, I don't even know any Jewish people, at least any Jewish people that I know of, but I even had a racist encounter with a Jewish landlord. For what we know, there are many powerful Jewish men that own record labels and own entertainment industries. He's the same one. I think Viacom CBS is owned by a Jewish person, the same company that fired Nick Cannon. Those same companies that were screwing over black artists and putting black actors and actresses in compromising, embarrassing roles. A part of the history that Jewish people don't bring up is that if it wasn't for Martin Luther King being good friends with a rabbi, many Jewish people wouldn't even care or trust black people. Many Jewish people didn't even trust MLK. White Jewish people in America are still white. So they benefit from the systemic racism that helped white people and kept black people down. There is a lot of Jewish billionaires in the world, and astonishing since worldwide there's not that many Jewish people. But if the billionaires represent a vast majority of Jewish people in the Jewish community, and they hold the same racist views towards black people and show it, and when we or anybody calls it out or simply acknowledges it, the Jewish community doesn't condemn the people in their circle that hold these views, but they condemn everybody else. What is the message that is being sent? And what is the message that is being received? Look, at the end of the day, I'm not Jewish. Nor do I know anybody that is Jewish. But after seeing Deshaun Jackson's IG post, I wanted to do my own research to look up this topic. Clearly, I didn't hit on every topic about the Jewish community. I just can't. But I wanted to address some things I've seen on social media over the last week or two. Black people do not hate Jewish people. Black people are not looking for black supremacy. And black people can be passionate mostly for black lives, but also care about other marginalized groups. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, and black people need to stand for the other marginalized groups. And for the Jewish people that come across this video, stand for black people the same way you will stand for Jewish people. Black people have routinely been told to have discussions about the thoughts that we have amongst others and be more empathetic. But we want to know that you're doing the same. And checking the behavior and ideology of Jewish people in your family and in your social spaces that can be problematic, that is the start. That is something that Jewish people should be doing. Are they doing it? I don't know. For all I know, they could be doing that. But they have to be vocal about it. The fears that Jewish people have about being murdered because of their religion are happening to black people because of their fucking skin color. I, for the most part, can't tell a Jewish person when I see one. But black people don't have the luxury of just not being black that day. So speak up and be loud for black people the same way you want them to be loud for you. Stay safe, support each other, and I'll talk to y'all.